Great House is a novel written by Nicole Krauss and published in 2010. The book is divided into two parts, each containing 4 sections, all centered around a piece of furniture. All Rise. All Rise is a story told through the perspective of an American novelist named Nadia. Her story consists of many failed relationships with the men she encounters throughout her life. When Nadia experiences her most traumatizing breakup, she loses all of her furniture in her New York City apartment. We are then introduced to her friend Paul Alpers that she met in college at a seminar for avant-garde poets who knew of a friend in need of someone to take care of his furniture. Paul introduced Nadia to Daniel Varsky, a Chilean man who was heading back to his home country to fight alongside his friends in a liberating movement. Nadia and Daniel quickly developed a romantic dynamic between the two of them. The communication overseas diminished quickly, and Nadia received word that Daniel had been killed, leaving her with the burden of taking care of Daniel's furniture permanently, including the beloved desk. Nadia grew a strong connection to Daniel's desk, and is where she found motivation and inspiration for her writing and creativity. Nadia spends countless hours working at Daniel's desk when, out of the blue, she receives a phone call from a young lady named Leah Wise, who claims to be Daniel Varsky's daughter, requesting for her father's desk back. Nadia agreed surprisingly without hesitation, finding herself extremely regretful after the phone call ended. The day that Leah was supposed to show up, Nadia left the apartment and told the doorman to let her in, not wanting to part with the desk. True Kindness. True kindness is present in both Part 1 and Part 2 of the novel. It is narrated from the point of view of the father of Dove and Yuri, whose name we later find out is Aaron. Throughout the first part of True Kindness, Dove and Yuri's mom dies, leaving Aaron to be a single father, something his wife was afraid of doing. During the funeral for the mother, Dove shows up, leaving Aaron angry. This is where we begin to learn about how much he does not like his son. The first part of True Kindness has Aaron explaining how much he does not like Dove, but praises his other son, Yuri. Yuri always took after me. There you stood, big shot judge from London, holding out your hand, waiting for your turn with the shovel. And do you know what I wanted to do, my boy? I wanted to slap you. Right then and there, I wanted to slap you across the face and tell you to go find your own shovel. This is the first part where we can really see how much Aaron does not like Dove. Throughout Dove's childhood, he always had his mother on his side. She would come to his defense, as any good mother should do, and that almost always led to a fight between her and Aaron. Throughout his life, Dove wanted to be a writer, receiving very little support from his father and no sympathy when it did not work out for him. After his career as a writer did not work out, he joined the army. He used to send home packages that had special instructions to not be opened, but Aaron did not care and opened them anyways, finding letters he had wrote to himself. He then helped Dove relive when he came home from the army, telling the story of how Daphne, the girl he loved, left him for another man, causing him to want to kill himself, forcing the army to send him home and him simply sitting at home like a vegetable, as Aaron explained it. Aaron went on to explain to him the many things that went wrong in his life, and how his plans seemed to always change. Moving into the second part of True Kindness, we can still see how much Aaron does not like Dove, but he decides to make a proposition where they call a truce and sit down and tell each other everything that they have wanted to tell each other, explaining that death is just around the corner for himself.
Swimming Holes. The third story within the novel introduces a few new characters and brings in some familiar names from the previous stories. Lot and Arthur are a middle-aged married couple with an interesting and mysterious relationship dynamic. Arthur seems emotionally stable and pretty normal for the most part, whereas Lot has a very secretive personality, as well as she suffers from dementia. Arthur says, "No, I couldn't possibly know what it was she carried in the depths of her, but slowly I discovered certain footholds when she shouted out in her sleep." Lot is a published author, and her book sparked an interest in the young man who goes by the name of Daniel Varsky. Daniel wanted to meet the author, so he takes matters into his own hands and pays a visit to Lot and Arthur's personal home. The couple welcomes the young man in, and Daniel is happy to discuss Lot's book with her over a cup of warm tea. At first, this relationship seems comfortable, but Daniel began coming over more frequently, and Lot neglected to tell Arthur when he would do so. Arthur knew his wife was a mysterious woman because that's what attracted him to her, but he began to think that Lot was being swooned by this younger man. Arthur decided to test his wife by telling her that he was going to a 4-day conference for work, when really he was just leaving her in the house alone to see if she would be unfaithful. While he was away, Arthur regrets his decision and comes back to find his wife pleasantly waiting for him and even happy that he had come home a day early. He notices that Lot's desk is gone, and she explains to him that she had given her desk to Daniel. Lot also tells Arthur her darkest secret, that she had given birth to a baby boy when she was young and gave him up for adoption. Naturally, Arthur did not take this news lightly, so he searches through her files and he finds one that states the birth of her son. He had the idea that Daniel Varsky could have been her son, but after Lot passes away, Arthur travels and searches for Lot's son and finds out that he had died in a tragedy. Lies told by children. The fourth and final story within the novel is centered around the Wise family, the father George and his 2 children, Leah and Yoav. The story is narrated by Yoav's girlfriend, Isabel. George's wife had died and he was a very overbearing father. He made it his goal to recreate his father's study. In this study was a very important desk, and George would not stop until he found it. George was not a good father to his son and daughter, and seemed to neglect and abuse them, partly because he was obsessed with finding this desk. This obsession consumed who he was as a person, and his 2 children, especially Leah, were not appreciative of his behavior. Isabel returns to her home country to take care of her ill mother, leaving behind her relationship with the Wise family. For a little while they kept in contact by sending letters to and from, but the communication deteriorated to the point where they did not send Isabel anything. Years went by, and Isabel finally receives word from Leah that their father has ended his life. This is mainly because he had felt failure in attempting to recreate his father's study because he could not find the desk. Only Leah knew of the desk's whereabouts. She retrieved it and hid it from her father because she had so much resentment towards him due to his lack of being a suitable father to her and her brother. Everyone, especially Leah's father, had underestimated her ability to be courageous and cunning. Great House is a beautifully written novel by Nicole Krauss. With its different stories, all being tied together by a desk, it is something that will leave you intrigued and wanting to see how the stories unfold together due to a simple inanimate object. The tremendous desk stood alone, mute and comprehending. There were a few scratches, but otherwise those who had sat at it had left no mark.